Hello, everybody. What's up? Welcome into Best on the Board, presented by BetMGM. It is Friday, February 18th. It is NBA All-Star Weekend. NFL, we know, is done. So the decks are cleared for us to talk about college basketball this entire episode of Best on the Board. I am Michael Beller. Joining me to preview the weekend ahead in college basketball is CJ Moore. CJ, what's up, man?
Just another day. How are you doing?
I am doing great. You got to talk a little longer so I can have a little bit longer of a sip of water there, but it's okay. It's all right. We'll figure that out eventually. I'm doing well, man. This is a good weekend ahead. We have a number of rank versus rank matchups, and we talked a little bit about how rankings don't mean a whole lot, but obviously you don't get into the top 25 by accident. So anytime you got a rank versus rank matchup, you can expect a pretty good game. And we're actually going to look at 4 such games as we get ready for this big weekend of college basketball ahead of us. So I'm excited for this weekend. I will say welcome to all of the people who realize that college basketball still exists at this time of year. Every year, we have been here since November, but we are happy to have you along with us for the rest of the ride through the regular season and into March Madness. Let's get going here, CJ. 4 games, as I said, all rank versus rank games, and we start in the Big Ten, Michigan State and Illinois. This is a game taking place in East Lansing. We are using KenPom lines as we talk about these for gambling purposes because no official lines available just yet. So KenPom has this as Michigan State favored by 1. Again, they are at home. 141 the total on this game. These teams have met once this season. It was one of the uglier games that I have watched from start to finish of this season. It was an Illinois 56-55 win. That game was without Kofi Cockburn, however. It was a couple weeks ago. Cockburn was in concussion protocol. He missed a couple of games, including this one, and Illinois still pulled out a win at home over Michigan State. But again, really, really ugly. And obviously, we know everything about Illinois' offense changes when Cockburn isn't in there. So I look at this matchup, CJ, and I see Michigan State favored by 1. The KenPom lines aren't going to be perfect, but it'll probably be somewhere in there, somewhere between Michigan State favored by 1.5 or Illinois favored by 1.5. And I just can't see any reason to not bet Illinois with the way these two teams match up against one another.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason is it's going to be played at Michigan State, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm with you. I think Kofi might put Marcus Bingham in the bucket, like
just like he did when he put up the 38 or whatever against Wisconsin. Like they just don't have anyone on that front line who can handle him.
Yeah, I mean, Bingham's a good defender and he's long, but man, Kofi's a different kind of beast. So.
Yes.
I think I like Illinois here. I like Illinois' team.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing, like the Big Ten race it's crowded up there at the top.
It is.
And this is a game the Illini could definitely use, just coming off that loss to Rutgers. I think usually a really, really good team, for the most part, bounces back after a loss. So I'm with you. I think I like the Illini.
Yeah, this was a game that Illinois was never really in the second half either, which is strange. Although Rutgers, as you and I were talking about before we got recording, on a 4-game winning streak and impressive wins from top to bottom on that streak. Michigan State, Ohio State, and Illinois at home and at Wisconsin. So Rutgers are now 10-5 in the Big Ten and making a case for themselves to be an at-large team. You mentioned the Big Ten race going into this weekend. You've got Purdue at 12-4, Illinois and Wisconsin at 11-4. Rutgers is at 10-5. Michigan State's at 9-5, and then Ohio State, because of some COVID issues, they've played the fewest games. They've only played 13, so 2 fewer than most of these teams. They're at 9-4. So any of those teams, all those teams, mathematically alive for the Big Ten regular season title. Have to assume, though, that Purdue, Illinois, and Wisconsin with a little bit of a leg up as we head into the home stretch. Michigan State also, CJ, they've just been so inconsistent really all season, and an inconsistent offensive team. And again, like this just feels like the team that Illinois eats up. When Illinois has been fully healthy this season, when they've had Cockburn, when they've had Curbelo, when they've had everyone available to them, they've looked like one of the best teams in the country. And I find it hard. I find it hard to expect a inconsistent offensive team like Michigan State to stay with Illinois when Illinois basically is able to do what it does every time it takes the floor.
Yeah, you throw it into the big fella and spread it out and shoot threes. It's exactly. It's a simple formula, but it works really well. And I think maybe the one spot Michigan State could go at Illinois is Joey Hauser, Malik Hall. Illinois is kind of small at the 4 spot unless Coleman Hawkins is out there, and he hasn't been great. during conference play. So maybe that's one spot Michigan State can exploit them. But other than that, it's going to be tough for Michigan State to match up with the big fella.
I agree with you. Is your dog agreeing with us or disagreeing? What do you think?
She would like to go outside. Should we pause for a second? Can you piece it together?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, and go.
All right. All right, so that's at Michigan State and Illinois, and again, that's one of the first games of the day on Saturday. So a good way to start your college basketball weekend with the Spartans and the Fighting Illini. Let's move on to Texas and Texas Tech here. CJ, another game that Ken Pom has as a close one, a 1-point game. Texas this time favored by 1. This game, of course, in Austin after the one in Lubbock. The rowdy atmosphere that we saw leading up to that game with Chris Beard making his return to Lubbock as the head coach of the Texas Longhorns. Texas -1, 123 on the Ken Pom line. I think a little bit different of a matchup than what we talked about with Michigan State and Illinois. With the matchup that they just had, I mean, we're talking that was 2 weeks ago that these teams just played. How do you take that and apply what we saw in that one to this matchup, if there is anything that you take and apply to this one?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a ton of emotions flowing again, right? There are a ton of emotions flowing in that one. I think Texas Tech has the better athletes. I think that showed up in that game. But Kevin McCullough probably not going to play in this game with a high ankle sprain. One of the most important players for Texas Tech. That being said, TJ Shannon, who we also expected this year to be like Texas Tech's best player, right?
Yes.
He hasn't been that for most of the season, but here he's put together 2 good games in a row. Maybe he's starting to kind of get back into it. I'm kind of back and forth on this one. I think at home, Texas Tech's schedule is pretty favorable the rest of the way. Outside of this game, like I think the Red Raiders should be able to maybe run the table after this game. But Texas on its home court, I'm kind of leaning that way. If McCullough was playing in this game, I might pick Tech. But the fact that he's out, I know they beat Baylor the other night without him, but I'm kind of leaning Texas. How do you feel on this one?
Yeah, I think that's the way that I lean as well. And Texas has been, it's been fun to watch. I think with all right off the top, right? You've got Chris Beard, new coach, new system, all that. You bring in Marcus Carr. You've got Andrew Jones back for his last year in Austin. Just the moving parts that they've assembled on this team, and the way that things have come together and then frayed at the seams a little bit, and then come back together. It's been, I think, one of the more fun watches in college basketball this season. Not necessarily from a literal eyeballs on them while they're playing, but just the way that a pretty talented team has had to figure things out on the fly. I think that's been one of the more fun subplots of this Big 12 season, and I do think that comes to a head in this matchup with Texas Tech. Trey Mitchell also for Texas. He missed that win that they had a couple of days ago at Oklahoma in overtime due to injury. So no word as of yet as to what his status is going to be for this Texas Tech matchup, but they could be a little bit shorthanded as well. Not quite as important to Texas as McCullough is to Texas Tech, but still both teams could be down a key rotation member. So that's something to think about as well. But I'm with you. I think that Texas Tech does have they are. I think it will come. A lot of it will come down to TJ Shannon. If McCullough isn't able to play, they're going to need that same sort of game that Shannon gave them against Baylor, where he didn't shoot it very well from 3, but was still a nice creator for them inside the arc and ended up scoring 14 points in that one. I lean Texas. It's probably, from a pure gambling perspective, though, pretty easy for me to stay away from this one.
Yeah, you mentioned Trey Mitchell, but the nice thing Texas has here is Christian Bishop has been really, really good lately. And, you can't really throw the ball in the post a ton against the Red Raiders the way they play. It's really hard to throw the ball in the post. That's Trey Mitchell's thing. Christian Bishop, more of a rim roller.
Yep.
So that's, kind of a better fit in that matchup. So I don't know that the Trey Mitchell stuff matters that much, whether he plays or not. But yeah, I was probably a stay away from me too. You could maybe like that number is going to be pretty low for the over under.
Yep.
Maybe you hit that and bank on maybe these teams being able to score a little bit. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's probably a stay away from me as well.
A fun matchup, and hopefully it'll bring the same sort of drama the first one did, but a stay away for us on Texas and Texas Tech. We're going to kick things over into the SEC in just a second. First, though, a message from our friends at BetMGM. Right now, bet $10 and win $150, plus get 3 free months to The Athletic if you go to BetMGM.com and use the code TheAthleticPod. Again, take advantage of this offer right now from the king of sportsbooks. Bet 10 to win 150. That's any bet. These bets we're talking about, you want to bet on Illinois, it's minus 110 for me. I've already done this, but for you, it'll be get bet 10, win 150 plus 3 free months to The Athletic at BetMGM.com with the code TheAthleticPod. It's a new customer offer. Terms and conditions apply. All right, CJ, a couple of big games in the SEC to talk about. Let's start with Kentucky and Alabama. Now, the KenPom line has this as Kentucky minus 10. KenPom, the way that site is built, this is assuming that Ty Washington plays for Kentucky. Not so sure that that's going to be the case. So if that's not the case, this is not going to be Kentucky minus 10. 156, the total on this at KenPom, also unlikely to be that high if Ty Washington doesn't play. So we have that up here. You can basically throw that out. We'll wait and see what the line is when it gets posted, probably later on Friday night. But this is a fun game. Kentucky, obviously one of the best teams in the country, with or without Washington, obviously better with Washington. Alabama, tons of talent, has had trouble getting things going, but now they've won 3 straight games. They're showing that top-level team that they can be when things are right, especially when things are right for them offensively. With or without Washington, this is one of the games of the weekend. I'm really looking forward to it. How do you break down this matchup?
Well, first of all, didn't we talk about on this show that like what are you doing? You're not supposed to bat Alabama.
We did. I think you know what?
Alabama.
Frankly, I think that was the last time these teams played, because we talked about the first matchup between these two teams, and I think that was what you said. Just Alabama can be an A+ team, they can be an F team. Just forget about betting on them.
Yeah, stay the hell away. But even if Ty doesn't play, what do you think that affects the line?
Couple of points.
Couple points.
I think he knocks it down to 8 or so.
8's still a lot.
8's still a lot. Yeah.
I'm leaning Bama to cover here. I think that Kentucky can obviously still win the game. Davion Mintz probably fill in for Ty. He's been playing pretty well lately. He's got, he's went 21, 7, 10, 11, 11 in his last 5 games. So Davion's he's not a nice player. He's no Ty Washington. Like, he's not a pro, right? But you throw him out there. I think Kentucky obviously wanting to bounce back from the loss at Tennessee at home. I like Kentucky in this game, but I don't think without Ty, I don't think they're like going to be rolling like they've been rolling. And I just don't see them beaten by Alabama by more than 8. But who knows? Like, when Kentucky wins, usually Kentucky just crushes.
Go ahead. So let's talk about Alabama then for a second here, because I think we know generally what to expect from Kentucky. That just hasn't been the case with Alabama this season. But 3 straight wins, including one over Arkansas. That was just a 68-67 victory. Again, we know that this team can get going offensively. We just haven't seen enough of it with consistency yet this season. How do you feel about them just coming into this matchup with Kentucky? How do you grade the way they're playing compared with their entire body of work for the season?
Yeah, I mean, 3 straight wins, but only one of those is real, right? Like, you
only one, Matt. Yeah, most people are going to beat Mississippi and Mississippi State at home.
Yeah, most people are going to win that. Like, Mississippi State's all right, but yeah, Mississippi, come on.
Yeah,
but so that's the only one real win there. But hey, beating Arkansas right now is a pretty nice win. Like, Arkansas is rolling.
Yeah,
I mean, this team just like they don't guard anywhere close to the way they guarded last year. In this matchup, they are not a good defensive rebounding team. That's not great against Kentucky. Let's see what Oscar get on. Oscar got 5 offensive rebounds in the first game. Kentucky had 10 offensive rebounds, which really, you got to give it to Bama. Not bad, against Kentucky, right? Yeah. Like you only give up 10. But I don't trust Bama, but man, I trust them to cover 8 with Ty Washington not playing.
Yeah. And we're sort of assuming that maybe it is a little bit lower. At what point would you cross over?
Ty, like just sit Ty and get him.
For sure.
Just for sure. I think that's just
big picture. Big picture. This game means relatively little, if anything at all, to Kentucky.
Yeah, I mean, you could say they're playing for a one to try to get on the one line, but
a loss in this game doesn't preclude them from getting on the one line.
No, but it's getting close.
Yeah,
but I think they're at 2 at the worst.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely.
Almost no matter what happens the rest of the way. So, I mean, sit Ty, get him right, and I still think the Cats can win this game.
What's the number that it would have to be at for you to flip on the other side and say Kentucky covers? How low would that have to come? I think at like 5.5. I'm interested in Kentucky.
5, 4, 5, probably about 5.5. I'm even maybe a little hesitant.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see what it comes in later on Friday night. And hey, speaking of later on Friday night, for all you Alabama fans, don't forget Herb Jones and the Rising Stars Challenge in the NBA All-Star Weekend.
Oh, gotta catch that Rising Stars Challenge.
Hey, it's actually pretty fun this year. Do you see how they changed the format by any chance?
No, I did not.
So it's 4 teams, drafted by Isaiah Thomas.
Like Isaiah Thomas, the Isaiah Thomas, Detroit Pistons, Isaiah Thomas.
The Isaiah Thomas, Gary Payton.
Give you some advice. Bet against his team.
Anyways, it's and so it's 4 teams, and they're playing with like a little mini tournament. And the semifinal, the first round is 1st to 50 wins, and then the championship is 1st to 25. So it's at least they breathe some life into it. At least they're trying something new.
Good stuff.
They're trying something new. And if you're interested in that, beyond the way that we're talking about it here, we did conduct a little All-Star Weekend fantasy draft on our previous episode of Best on the Board. It's titled NBA All-Star Saturday Draft, even though the Rising Stars Challenge takes place on Friday night. So go ahead, check it out, and come cheer for Team Barry with me, because that's my Rising Stars team. Team Barry's a good one.
You've got Gary Payton, you said, Isaiah Thomas, and who are the other 2 captains?
That's a good
I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah. Rick Barry and
your Team Barry, apparently.
And I forget the 4th one. But either way, anyway, no matter who it is, it's going to be a fun one. It's going to be, I think, a fun way breathe some life into this Rising Stars Challenge. One more game for us to talk about here on this college basketball weekend, and it's still in the SEC. Tennessee and Arkansas. Ken Palm's got this as Tennessee -1, a 139 total. We got Tennessee on a 5-game winning streak. To use your phrasing, really only one that matters, but oh boy, does it matter. A nice 13-point win over Kentucky the last time they took the floor. Arkansas, meanwhile, one of the hottest teams in the country. They have won 10 of their last 11 games, with that one loss, a 1-point loss at Alabama. So Arkansas has really got that team rolling. This is the first time these teams have played each other. However, it will not be the last time these 2 teams are going to see each other again in the SEC regular season finale for the 2 of them. So 2 meetings in the span of about 3 weeks for these teams, with this one kicking it off in Fayetteville. Break down this matchup for us, CJ.
Yeah, I mean, Arkansas, you said it, has been awesome this lately. I think in Bud Walton is especially awesome. Like, that's one of the best atmospheres in college basketball. On a Saturday, it's going to be just rocking. JD Note has been really, really good lately. They spread you out. I really like the big kid on their team. Jalen Williams is a guy who can, play make from the perimeter as well. Arkansas, like, I saw him play early in Kansas City, and those are some hard playing dudes. And it was surprising that they struggled early on, especially after I saw them then, or at least like in the middle. Like, they had a stretch where they lose 5 of 6 at one point, but you take away that one stretch and they've lost 1 game all year. So it was a bad stretch. Like, there was a loss to Vanderbilt, and a loss to Hofstra in there, and the Vanderbilt one was at home. But they've been really good. I think that's a top 20-ish team. I think Tennessee's a top 20-ish team. I think these teams are probably pretty close to even. and 1 point at Bud Walton, like give me Arkansas.
Yeah, I think that's the way that I lean here as well because of all the reasons you said. These are relatively evenly matched teams. They haven't seen one another this season, so there's obviously some familiarity with the with just being in the same conference, and obviously a couple of big freshmen for Tennessee, but still some continuity from last year. So there's some familiarity, but this is going to be two teams figuring each other out for the first time, and maybe for the first 10 minutes of this game, that's what it looks like. Two teams figuring out this equally matched opponent on the other side of the floor. But ultimately, I side with the home court advantage. So as long as we're looking at a spread that is in this 1.5, 2, maybe even 2.5 range, Arkansas would be the play for me. If somehow it were higher than that, which I would be totally stunned by, I'm not suddenly betting Tennessee. I'm just staying away from it. This is an Arkansas or nothing. I'll say 2.5 or less. I'm on Arkansas. Anything other than that, it's a stay away for me.
I like that.
Yeah, and it's gonna be great. I mean, like you look at this, you just look at the SEC coming down to the the stretch here. Obviously, Auburn at 12-1 should win this conference, but then you've got Kentucky and Tennessee at 10-3 and Arkansas at 9-4. So there's going to be some jockeying for position. Ultimately, might not matter all that much if you're assuming these two teams are in the top 4, but for seeding purposes, you avoid Auburn in that semifinal round of the SEC tournament, and you can get one more win, be it Kentucky over Arkansas or Tennessee over Arkansas or Arkansas over Tennessee, whatever that matchup is, and then you go down to Auburn. That one more win in the SEC conference tournament could end up being the difference of a seed line. So there is something at stake for Tennessee and Arkansas when they get together in this game. You want to avoid Auburn and have that better bite at the apple once you get to SEC tournament time and change your seeding just that much for the NCAA tournament. By the way, while you were talking, I checked it out. James Worthy is the other coach captain in the Rising Stars Challenge, right?
Not remember James Worthy. Golly.
Look, I've got NFL on this show. I've got college basketball. I've got NBA. I've got a million things. So, just one little thing. Rick Barry, Gary Payton, Isaiah Thomas, and James Worthy are the 4 coaches with this Rising Stars Challenge tonight. So check it out, CJ. What else are you doing?
I'm probably going. I'm actually interviewing some parents of a player tonight. So
all right. Well, maybe they'll want to watch it with you.
Yeah, maybe so.
That's going to do it for this episode of Best on the Board. Thanks so much to those of you who joined us on YouTube watching, and everyone, of course, out there listening to this show. Just a quick programming note, no Best on the Board next week. We return in force with our eyes set on the NCAA tournament and championship week on Monday, February 28th. For CJ, I am Michael Beller. Have a great weekend. Good luck. Happy betting, and we'll talk to you soon.